Construction zones, cranes in the air. You may have seen and heard some of the commotion in downtown Lansing as several developments have been taking place since last year. Sharing the revitalizations across mid-Michigan is Tim Daman, the Lansing Chamber of Commerce president and CEO. Tim, a big project broke ground early this spring in April, Lansing's new City Hall. How does that signify the rest of the growth across our area?
Well, I think it's one domino, and I think it's part of that vision and that planned vision for really kind of reinvigorating, downtown, especially that central business district. And so City Hall, public-private partnership, which we believe are critically important, especially with the appropriations and dollars coming from the state to support that infrastructure investment. And so it's equally as important as the new City Hall and the location there on the south edge of the central business district is the opportunity to redevelop the existing City Hall. So you kind of get a 2-for-1 on that. And again, that's one of several little dominoes to kind of come and cranes in the sky downtown for sure.
The domino effect, right? You got the one and it's just going to keep expanding and knocking down the rest, or in this case, you're building up the rest of the city. You talk about the money, these businesses bringing in those dollars, but you need people to do that. One of the developments happening across mid-Michigan, you have new housing units going up, expanding that affordability, increasing that accessibility to those residents who hope to settle down, create a life in Lansing and mid-Michigan.
We know through some benchmarking data that we have one of the highest Gen Z populations of any metropolitan area in the Midwest, and that's critically important for us. And what are we doing to kind of keep the Gen Z population here and continuing into their professional careers? So part of that's having that strong urban environment, and then that has to start with housing. And everyone talks about that density and that critical mass of having people downtown. And the one that's going to transform the skyline is the New Vision Lansing and the tower on Grand, and a 28-story high-rise residential. For the first time in many years, Taylor, the crane in the sky, and that perception matters. It matters for the residents that are here. It matters for our visitors when they're coming in. And you know what? We've got just kicking off fall football and the football season, and so having a lot of visitors in and out of our region this fall and seeing that crane in the sky is critically important.
A lot of exciting things coming to the area and for all different walks of life. You talk about pertaining to the needs of Gen Z, right? You want to be in the area where things are happening. Mm-hmm. How is the city of Lansing creating things that people can go do?
You got the fish ladder and being renovated with the amphitheater. So for outdoor music venues that will be opening up, if not later this year, early into 2026. So there's a lot of things happening in there. And then the city of Lansing with the Ovation as well. So again, when we kind of started talking about that first domino to fall with City Hall and some of those housing projects, Ovation kind of continuing in to kind of build on in that entertainment district in that central business area of downtown for sure.
Before you even get to downtown Lansing, you're seeing a lot of these developments on the roads. You may be running into some traffic headaches, and even the Michigan corridor. What can people expect to see? Right now it's construction cones, a lot of construction. What can they look forward to?
Well, the infrastructure piece is part of the equation in economic development. And you got to start thinking about, you need the critical mass of people and the population growth. You've got to have the private sector jobs and the private sector investment, and that infrastructure is all part of that equation for that. And so, when we look at that, we have over $800 million between 2022 and the end of the year 2028. There was over $800 million of planned infrastructure investment, and two of the largest projects you mentioned, the Michigan Avenue corridor rebuild, and then you've got the 127 third lane expansion, and both are critically important. But when you think about the Michigan Avenue corridor, I love talking about it. Our chamber is going to celebrate 125 years next year, and in 1905 our board of directors at that time helped commission the first paved road between downtown Lansing and Michigan Agricultural College. So that corridor has a long history, and you think about our regional economy comes together there. I mean, from state capital to healthcare to insurance and financial services, small business, higher education, it all happens there on that corridor. And you're beginning to see it now right on both ends. And Red Cedar development and what you have happening now with the redevelopment and infrastructure of the corridor, the investment from U of M Sparrow on the corridor, that's going to continue to happen as well. So I'm very excited what this is going to look like as that construction wraps up as we get into the fall, and what what 2026 is going to bring for that corridor for sure.
Lots of changes. I'm surprised you have, of course, you're the president and CEO, you got to have that knowledge, but a lot has changed in the past 125 years since the Chamber started working on all of this. Tim, you work more behind the scenes. You see more of what's going on, the plans, the layouts. For those of us who don't get to see all of that, is all of this construction worth the headache?
Well, it will be for sure, you know, and as we were chatting, you kind of find your little shortcuts, and then you get a little annoyed when other people find the same shortcuts. But you know what, it is, and as I mentioned, I mean, before 2022 in our region, we were not getting even a quarter of that type of investment in infrastructure. And so we have an old and aging infrastructure system here, and bridges that need to be rebuilt and repaired, and roads that need to be maintained and so forth. And so it's part of the economic growth. And again, I believe that infrastructure investment is part of that, with private sector investment and population growth really kind of equals economic prosperity.
Hopefully bringing us all some more good news. Tim, thank you so much for sharing the redevelopments across mid-Michigan and for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.